this song. We're going to start in 1 minute. I just love this song. We're going to start in 1 minute. I just love it. I'm vibing such great energy today. It's a great song. Woo! All right. Oh, my God. I love that song. It's so good. It's incredible. I love it. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am crossing my fingers that I've done this right again. And according to Facebook, I have to talk very slow. So I'm going to talk slow because they think I'm a robot because I talk so fast. All right. So first things first, I'm in a super epic mood. First of all, it's like May 2nd, and it's epically crappy weather outside. So I'm feeling like that's kind of hilarious. Is Mother Nature hates us. I think that's pretty much how it is. But we did have a great weekend. I had a wonderful run. I went down to Cornwall, Ontario, which actually I never have been. I've biked through it or biked to it accidentally once or twice, but I've actually never spent any time there. So I got this like little VRBO, whatever the case is. It was super cute. Was looking at some waterfront opportunities, and I'm going to be honest with you, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Had a super fun race. That was awesome. I decided to incorporate one of my workouts down there. So it was actually a lot of fun. Got to hang out with some friends, spent some really good quality time, and obviously I did a great job on my run, which is the first time in years that I did not poop the bed on the run. So I'm feeling actually pretty good about that. So that's awesome. All right, so let's get this show going here. I want to make sure that you can all hear me, and you can, which is really good. Okay, so let's get it rolling. One of the things that we're talking about today is called players versus pretenders. This is one of my favorite topics, and players versus pretenders it's from John Maxwell. Those of you who know, I'm a John Maxwell coach. He's also a friend of mine, and I always go up and spend some time every November one-on-one, and probably some of the best. I mean, if you don't know who John Maxwell is, he's the #1 leadership coach in the world. Okay, so the players versus pretenders, this topic is coming directly from him. If you want to know more about the topic, I would say log into some of his masterminds, or check him out. He's absolutely fantastic. What I would say is like my transition of who I became and where I became came a lot from John Maxwell. So anyway, it was really, really good. So players versus pretenders. Here's the thing about it. Players become pretenders. That's one of the things that, people are always talking about what a player is and what a pretender is. I think you can pick up on the term quite a bit, but players become pretenders, okay, quite often, most of the time. Many pretenders start off as players. And one of the things is that, the reasons why we see that happen, because it's not like you don't get born and bred as a pretender, but most of us CEOs, we end up hiring pretenders. I don't know about you guys. I'm always transparent about, a lot of the things that happen to me because I think that they're good to, show that I'm not perfect. I go through the same stuff that you guys go through. I hire so many pretenders that it got to the point where when I was watching this or studying this or learning this, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm done. I am freaking done hiring people who are pretenders. And then I said, I need to learn more about it. So when I saw the topic come up with John Maxwell, I was like, this is like unbelievably accurate. So here's the thing. Most leaders, we have pretenders in our organization because we tend to hire pretenders. And we'll go through this and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I guarantee you after you're done this, you're going to be like, that's what's happening. And like I said, many people start off as players and they end up becoming pretenders. The reason why they do that, okay, they get an image and they want to protect it. Pretenders get an image and they want to protect it. They also have small success and they want to shortcut it. Okay, so what I mean by that, this is going to unnerve some people, but it is what it is. I'll give you an example in the coaching industry, or actually let's use the real estate industry. The real estate industry is a good one. You'll have one person who, let's say, has a really great 1 year. Okay, they did really good. All right. It is a good topic, Maureen. I knew you'd like it. So somebody will have a really good year. Do you like that? I'm like, I have to look now. Oh my God, I will not wear my glasses. I'm fighting that shit this week. Okay, I'm going glassless. All right, so anyway, so here's the thing. You'll see in real estate, somebody will have a good year. It'll be one good year. That's it. Whether it's their first year in the business or whatever the case is. Next thing you know, they're out of the business. They're training. They're doing speaking engagements. They're traveling the world. I'm amazing. I got this. I got that. And they're traveling all over the place and they're saying, hey, that's what a pretender is. Okay, they had small success and they want a shortcut to the top. That's what they want. Okay, I get it all the time in coaching. So I've spent A lot of people don't know this. 19,000 billable coaching hours. It's pretty hard pressed to function the speed that my brain does. I got 19,000 billable coaching hours. I don't run the company. I am the company in the sense of saying, yeah, I don't care. I've got 19,000 billable coaching hours. I can coach anybody anywhere to do anything. When I sit down with a business owner, I'm there. I don't need to pretend. Okay, I did all the hard work that got me there. You don't get 19,000 billable coaching hours by sitting around. But what I see in the coaching industry is exactly that. I'll see somebody who wants to have the business that we have in my company, but they take one small success and then they want to shortcut it. They don't want to do the work for 19,000 billable hours, not understanding what the process is, and then all of a sudden they're a pretender. I'm this, I'm that. They'll pay for the best marketing. They'll pay for billboards. They'll do whatever they got to do. They'll pay to play on speaking engagements, but they'll shortcut it. And that's what we see. That's one of the biggest reasons why players become pretenders, is that they start off as a player and they're really engaged and they're like, I really want to be this. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I see a shortcut. I got a little bit of success. A great example, people who write books. People who write books all the time, okay, they're just like, they have maybe 2 years of success or whatever the case is, and then they start writing books. And then they're like, oh, I got this great bestseller, or I got this book, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're a pretender, you're a pretender. Another one we see in business all the time is, you'll see it with the real estate market. And I don't want to be negative, but you'll see it all the time. People will be like, well, I got through 2017, I got this, I know how to navigate through 2022. Well, wait a second, what did you actually do in 2017? Take a look at their stats. How were they? How did they do? What was their results? You know, player versus pretender. Most people start off with the best intentions. They're players. And that's a great person to be, people to be. But then they get an image also. When I say that they get an image and they want to protect it, they're terrified to be anything else. They're terrified to be not that image. Okay, so they really just pretend to be it. And they pretend and they pretend and they pretend. And it's like, you know what? The more they pretend, the less they become a real player, okay? So why do they do it? First thing is they overestimate the event and they underestimate the daily process. So they overestimate the event and then they underestimate the process, the daily process, and that's all in their daily routine. The next thing is that we get tired of the fight. A lot of the reason why players become pretenders is because guess what? Every freaking day you fight. You fight, you fight, you fight, right? Oh, there you go. Thank you. My assistant's so great. She's like, don't hesitate to ask questions. I love it. So here's the thing. We get tired of the fight. Oh, hi, Teresa, by the way. We're all virtual now, so it's like great. Anyway, we get tired of the fight. And that's one of the biggest things is that every freaking day, if you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, every day it can be exhausting. You're constantly fighting in our industries to be relevant, to be successful, to learn knowledge, to manage it, to hours, to shifting stuff. It's exhausting. So no wonder so many people look for a shortcut because it can be exhausting. You know, sometimes I think it was like, I think it was Margaret Thatcher. I can't even remember who it was, but there was a quote once that talks about fighting in business. And it's like sometimes you have to do 3 battles to win 1 battle. Like it's very exhausting. Sometimes every corner that you take in business is another freaking fight that you have to take. You know, it's always like that. And I'll tell you, in real estate right now, it's all about that. So you really have to look at that and say, yeah, a lot of people get tired of the fight. And then the third thing is that we fail to change. Okay, we fail to evolve, we fail to change. And one of the biggest things about failing to change is that what got you there in the first place isn't going to keep you there. Okay, and a lot of people get caught in that trap. So they're moving along, they're going, wow, I'm really great, I'm really great, I'm really great. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to change. And then the player has to become a pretender because they're sitting there going, I didn't change. I didn't do it. So now I have to pretend, and basically that whole fake it till you make it thing happens, okay? So those are the 3 biggest reasons why players become pretenders. And I think that that's a really valid point. There's no malicious intent there. It's something that happens along the way. And in a business, there really is no place for pretenders. You know, I really have to be honest with you. So if you want to know the definition, the players versus the pretenders, okay? If you're looking for the pretenders, they live for themselves, okay? This is how you identify them. And then we're going to get into some really interesting stuff. They live for themselves. They act the part, but they don't do the part. Okay, so they act the part, they don't do the part. So for example, we have a great social media guest speaker on Thursday. If you haven't registered, go to this site. The registration should be up there. We're going to pimp it out one more time. She's amazing. She is not a pretender. Okay, she's the legit person. Okay, I love her. So feel free to sign up for that. We love it. It's free, and you're going to get a lot of good shit from it. Anyway, oops, I swore on Facebook again. I lasted 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Damn it. All right. So anyway, so act the part, but they don't do the part. And what I mean by that is, like, when I was interviewing social media experts to interview and to do training sessions for our coaching clients, one of the biggest things I do is I go through their social media and I look at it and I say, okay, boom, 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 boom. How many people actually train social media and then they have terrible social media? So it's like, well, if, like, it doesn't make sense. If you're a real estate agent who owns a real estate team, and you're saying that you're training on social media and you can guarantee me 100 leads a week, why are you training? Because, like, you will make way more money getting 100 leads a week on social media than you will training for like $250. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So is that a player or a pretender? Most likely a pretender. They had a little bit of small success and they're trying to shortcut it. That's what they're trying to do. Okay, so that's how you know that. So they're act the part, they don't do the part. Okay, they will slow your organization down. Pretenders slow the organization down all the time. They hurt relationships with other people in the organization. And the biggest key factor is they look out for themselves. They're always looking out for themselves. And how can you flesh out those pretenders versus players? Easiest thing is this, is that there's a saying that says, when you need we people is when you see the me people. Okay, so when you need in your organization we people, and then you turn it around and you're going, all you can see is me people, that's when you know I have a team of pretenders. Okay, it happened to me. It happened to me. I won't go into too many details because it'll give too many things away on who I'm speaking about. But the point is that I needed, okay, I had this great thing, boom, 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 boom. I had a bunch, a team around me, and I was like, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be awesome. And the next thing you know, I looked and I went, holy smokes. I was like, we got to get there. We got to get there. And then it turned into me, 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 me. And I was like, what happened here? What happened? And I looked around and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, I am surrounded by pretenders. I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who are only in it for themselves. They weren't willing to do the work to get to where we need to get to. I was, but they weren't. And they were pretending. Okay, they weren't players. They would not do it for the mission or the cause or anything. All they wanted was to pretend to be in that circumstance. And I didn't know it at the time because I didn't know all this. Sometimes you go through something, you didn't know it. What it did do, it killed a multi-million-dollar adventure, basically. It killed it. It killed it instantly. So it wasn't just a $1 lesson. It was a multi-million-dollar lesson. Now, everything's fixed and everything's fine now, and that's okay, and I moved on. I surround myself with players, but at the end of the day, a pretender, that's what happens. When you need we people is when you see the me people. And when you have that happen, if you're a sales team and you're looking around you and you're going, okay, we're behind in sales, guys. We need to bring our game up here. And all you get is resistance, and it's me, 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 me. That's when you know, you're like, I've got a team of pretenders. And that's a very hard, or you may have one or two pretenders and a bunch of players, okay? And that's a really, really obvious point. So let's take a look at some of the biggest differences I wrote out here. So players have a servient mindset, okay? A very big servient mindset. And then pretenders are very selfish. Their mindset is selfish, okay? Again, guys, it's not to say pretenders are terrible people. I told you at the beginning, those of you who are joining late, players become pretenders most of the time. Everybody has the best intentions, but things happen that they end up going that direction. Again, most of the times it's short. Success gives them the shortcut that they're hoping to find. So players are a servient mindset, and obviously pretenders are a selfish mindset. How do you see that? Very easy. All you do is ask them to be a servient. Okay, ask them to serve and see what happens. Okay, so if you have, let's say, the CFO in a company, which, by the way, if my friend Allie is watching this, she's a great example, okay? She's a definite player, okay? She's not a pretender. This woman is brilliant. She's a CFO, smart as a whip, like literally, like awesome. I love conversing with her. She gets me, I get her, it's awesome. Here's the thing with Allie. When I needed somebody who would be a player around me, my organization, my ecosystem, what did she do? She dropped her fancy title, dropped her absolute brilliance, everything. And I said, Allie, I need help. I like boom, 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 boom. This is what I need. She dropped it all, and for God's sakes, did reference calls for me. This is a CFO doing reference calls to a hire that I was trying to do because I really wanted to make sure I got the right things. A CFO saying, I'll serve. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do? I'm on your side. That is a player. That's a true leader. That's not a pretender. A pretender would have said, Mary-Anne, I'm a CFO. I'll show you where you can hire somebody, but like honestly, that's not my thing. And you know, that's when you see the difference. That was probably the biggest difference that I saw in a really long time, is the difference between somebody who's a player versus a pretender, is the servient mindset. When you ask them to do something that is below their pay grade, as we like to call it, or a different thing, and you're asking them to serve, guess what? You know what? What do you got? You got somebody who shows up, or you got somebody who doesn't show up. Which one is it? In this case, Allie blew me out of the water. Okay, players, they're mission conscious, and they'll give up a position for a mission. Okay, they'll always do that. They don't care. They're about the mission. You want me to do that? Let's do it. A pretender, it's, you know, and what I always say about this one is that they'll give up on a mission to keep their position. You get it? They'll be like, yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but I still want to be the CFO, or I still want to be the CEO, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. So you can see the difference. A player doesn't really care. They'll consciously give up, you know, they'll give up that position for a mission any day. Okay, players, they're job happy. They love what they do. They love it hardcore. That's like me. I love what I do. A pretender is what we refer to as a job hunter. Okay, so we call them destination disease. Okay, so a pretender is destination disease, and what that means is that they sit there and they're always hunting for jobs, and they go, well, I can't do it where I am, but I think I can do it. If I was in a better environment with better people, I would do it, blah, 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 blah. And then next thing you know, that's where they try to go. Here's my thing with those, is destination disease people are interesting. That's one of the easiest ways you can see in an interview, which I've learned that will tell you if you're dealing with a pretender or a player. A great example of this is I had an employee years ago, and by the way, we're friends now. Everything's awesome, but here's an interesting thing. She had so much. Okay, she was my first hire ever. Okay, so a long time ago, she was my first hire ever, and I had her doing everything. Okay, you're trying to keep up with me is probably the hardest job anybody could ever have, and she had it all. But you see, here's the thing. She loved what she did. She was happy doing it. And here's the thing, is she was a real player, but she couldn't keep up. Okay, and respectfully, she never said, I can't do it here, I'll go find somewhere else. She did her job. Despite how hard it was, she made the environment work, and she never had to worry about that. She was always doing her job, and she really excelled at it. And so the truth is that a pretender, though, is sitting there just going, I'm not going to do it, and it's all the fault of this person, and if I was working for this business, or if I had this type of leader, if I had this type of team, I would do better. And you know what? I look for that in interviews all the time. Next thing, players can produce and they deliver on goods. They always do, okay? They deliver on the goods. Pretenders are the ones who always promise the goods. So you're always hearing promises, and then players are the ones who actually produce the goods, which is really important. Players love to see others succeed. Pretenders only love to see themselves succeed, okay? I see a lot of that in the triathlon world, where people aren't really happy to see other people succeed, but they're super proud of themselves for what they did to succeed, right? So it's really interesting, and that's a mindset. So can it be changed? Absolutely. If anybody thinks that a pretender can't become a player, that's not true. It's a behavioral thing. So its mindset and behaviors can always be modified. Behavior modification is very common. The biggest thing is, though, is that players, like I said, they love to see others succeed. They have a major rush on it, right? So like, you know, you can see, yeah. 2 days ago, I was at the Coral Marathon and half marathon. Well, yeah, I mean, I just finished racing. I had a bike ride I was supposed to do, whatever the case is. But you know what? I had a friend who was running the marathon, and I heard that friend might try to break a sub-4. So I was like, oh, wow, you know what? I'm going to stick around because I really want that person to succeed, and like, what can I do to help, right? I was like, okay, well, he's going to need some cheering. He's going to need that. So I stuck around. 90% of people bugger off. They're like, whatever, I gotta go eat my lunch, gotta go do this. They won't even give an extra hour of their life. They're all about their results and all about where they are. Now, granted, some people have commitments, and I'm not saying that that's a good or bad thing. Like, let's not get too judgy on this one. But the truth is that I looked at my watch and I'm like, okay, he was supposed to come in at 12 o'clock. Didn't come in at 12 o'clock. So I was like, something must be wrong. So all of us who stayed to cheer this person on, we're a bunch of great players. We really care about other people's successes. We all stuck around. We stuck around to the very end to make sure that he crossed that finish line. We cheered him on. We gave him the applause that he needed. And you know what? We all share the same thing in common. Okay, we actually love to see others succeed. Seeing others succeed is brilliant. It's wonderful. It's not just sitting waiting for your ride to finish. It's like seeing other people finish, seeing them succeed is really what a great player does. A pretender, you know, not everybody can stick around, okay? But it's amazing how many people, you know, there was an 80-year-old woman who crossed that finish line. She was amazing. You know what I mean? So seeing that, in that joy of seeing people finish something and succeed is a really good trait that you find in players quite often. I love, love, love that. And I look for that. I always look and see who stuck around, who buggered off, who's sitting around really watching. You can find some great talent at the finish line of races, just letting you know that. All right, players versus pretenders. Players value integrity, okay? And then pretenders value image. Okay, so players value integrity, and integrity is this cool thing. What you see on the surface of somebody who has integrity, if you see it on the surface, understand it's a big ship underneath. It's like an iceberg. There's tons of things that have to happen underneath in order to make integrity up at the top. But players, they value their image, so it's all about the image that they see. Okay, you know what? I think a lot of people, that's a tough one to see because integrity is something that really is tested quite a bit. And then two more things. Players, they make hard choices. Okay, and pretenders make soft choices. Hard choices are very, I mean, that's an underplay of words. They're hard to make. But hard choices are really difficult when you're owning a business or when you're in positions. And so whenever I'm interviewing somebody now, I'm always saying, tell me about some hard choices you had to make in the last couple of years. Let's hear it. Right? Is a hard choice really not finding a great job, or is a hard choice sitting around at home? What are the hard choices that you had to make over the past couple of years? Because soft choices won't make big waves in your company. Soft choices are not what makes great changes. Soft choices are also not where leaders are born. And if you want the best people in your ecosystem, a player will make hard choices. A player understands that the values, the harder the choice that they have to make, the better the leadership that you're probably showing as an example to your organization. Okay, and the last one is that players finish out, pretenders fade out. Okay, and what I mean by that is very easy. Okay, players finish out. They get the job done, they finish out, they go to the finish line, they get it done. Okay, they do finish out, but pretenders fade out. If you notice, it gets harder and harder for them to stay there, so they always have to do different things for their image or whatever the case is, but eventually they all fade out. Okay, so that's a really, and you'll see that on teams. Okay, if you have somebody that joined on your team and you think that they're a player and they show up as a player and they have 30, 60, 90 days of and then all of a sudden, you know what, you're seeing them fade out. Take a look at everything we talked about today and say, is that a pretender that I have in my company? Because that's generally what happens. They'll fade out. They won't stay there. You know what? They'll fade out. You know, real players will show up and they'll show up in your organization and they finish out. They finish things out. They keep going. They keep going. They keep going. They're very, very finishing out. But pretenders will always fade out. It's a very, very common thing with that. Okay? So again, this is John Maxwell stuff, okay? He is fantastic. When he talked about players and pretenders, again, that was probably the biggest lesson. He has 2 YouTube videos on this, very similar to what we're talking about today, but he gives all his insights on them. There's some debriefing. I think it's almost 2 hours of it. So if you like this content, I would suggest that you go over there. But this was one of my favorite valuable lessons about players versus pretenders. And when you can really start to see the difference, you'll see your companies, your businesses, your circle that you keep, try to surround yourself with players. Because you know what? When you do, there's nowhere to go but up. All right, hopefully you loved it. Join us on Thursday, Cinco de Mayo. We've got our social media expert. I think you'll love her. She is definitely a player. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.